ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of our Daily Magic Podcast. As the intro said, you are magical as F. And we're going to have a magical conversation today. So that way, one, you get to see another magical being showcase their own unique magic for the world. And our intention with this conversation is you can be able to get something from this conversation that can help you to incorporate more of your magic into this world. So those of you who are here, we appreciate you. Keep the comments going, keep the questions coming in. This will be a very engaging and powerful conversation. So I am one part of the host, Dell, and
my name is Kai, and I have the absolute pleasure of introducing Shawn Murphy. Now, Shawn, we've got some things to talk about here because there is so much that is just ingrained in your bio that I want to make sure that we cover it all, or at least as much as we can. So Shawn started off in aerospace engineering at the University of Minnesota in 1982 while working as a part-time machinist. Now that is really interesting in itself. How did you get into that?
Well, I started working at a very young age on motorcycles, go-karts, cars, and got involved with a group of people who were interested in machine work, and I was lucky enough to get a job as a machinist that I could work at night while I was going to school and earn my way through college that way. So I didn't have any college debt when I came out. And that's been a hallmark for my entire career. All three of my college degrees I got while I was working full time. And so my life has been a work study all the time. And after getting out of school, I just continued to study religion, philosophy, language, and spirituality.
Wow. It says here that you received a charter to study philosophy and German. What is a CFA charter?
It's like a chartered public accountant, chartered financial analyst. Just another education degree on top of my MBA to help me in my professional career.
Got it. So you're like a walking jack of all trades. You could help people in any part of the world.
Well, and that's what I do now is we help young entrepreneurs to build their businesses and to grow their businesses. the job that I do now on, during the day, and then I'm a blogger and a spiritual consultant on the side.
Okay. And that's a very interesting combination. Do you feel like those three things are exploring different parts of yourself, or that they are essentially the same thing, just in different forms?
Well, once I had on my second or third spiritual awakening, I asked a good friend of mine, I shouldn't be working in finance. It's just such a dirty business, from a spiritual aspect. And she said to me, this is a business that needs light, and so you're better off staying there, because you can bring light to that business. And that's how I've always felt about it since then. Regardless of where you work, you can always bring love and light into your workplace.
You said your third spiritual awakening. So tell me about your first one. What was the first spiritual awakening for you?
It was when I was 14. I grew up in a very strict Catholic family, and but I was an engineer, logical thinker, mathematician, and I just said, this isn't right. I don't understand this. I said to myself, if God created my brain, then I should be able to understand him. And so I started a journey. By the time I got out of college at 21, I had tried out 18 different religions, looking for a logical explanation. And I have to say, I kind of stopped searching at Buddhism, because that really felt good to me, and it felt logical. The idea of this path of reincarnation, reaching for perfection, one life at a time. I really like that philosophy.
18 religions. So from those 18 religions that you went through that led you to Buddhism, did you find any commonality between them that resonated with you, that led you to with the Buddhism practice, and then you had found some like nitpicks or little stuff from these other ones that's like a correlation between every one of them? And obviously there's not correlations.
Well, yeah. So what I found and what I use in my writing is this kind of image of the blind men and the elephant. If you've seen that picture, the elephant is the truth, and the blind men are the religion. Some think it's a tree, and some think it's a snake, and some think it's a wall. But when you take, and that's a gift that I've always had, is this 30,000 foot view of the world. When you take a step back and look at all the religions as a whole, they do all tell the same story, if you think of them as blind. Christianity is blind to reincarnation, okay? But that doesn't mean it's not there, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also started publishing your own philosophic works?
Well, yes, that was that was my fourth spiritual awakening. When my daughter was 20, she suffered a stroke in her left frontal cortex, and she lost her ability to speak and to communicate. That had a very strong impact on me. That was very strange. But I came home from the hospital from seeing her unable to speak in the hospital, and I sat down at my computer and I ended up writing 3 books in 6 months. She lost her ability to speak, and it forced me to speak my truth. And these 3 books just, they flowed out of me from all the studying I had done throughout the years. And as I was publicizing those, I created a following on Quora, basically answering people's questions about religion, about spirituality, about philosophy, and grew a fairly large following there. And through that, I got to meet people who are budding clairvoyants, or they're suffering a spiritual ailment of some sort. And that's what encouraged me to write the 4th book on spiritual healing, which is a self-help guide to people suffering from depression or suicidal thoughts or schizophrenia, which all can have a spiritual origin to it.
So for you, what do you feel is like the essence of spiritual origin of, like, let's say, like, a depression and things like that for people? What's like a spiritual origin, or the essence, the spiritual origin of like depression that people go through, or the stuff that they experience in their own life, the mental health issues and things like that?
Well, that's a very good question. Depression can have various causes. The probably the most easy to understand is when we come into this world, we're an eternal soul coming into this world with a goal of some sort. And if our soul can't achieve its goal because I'm doing something that, is against what my soul wants to do, that can cause depression. My brother was a musician, and you know what a musician soul looks like, and he wasn't able to use that, and he was very depressed. And it wasn't until late in his life that he was able to start using his creativity in the way that it was meant to be used. There are other causes of depression, and but we won't go into those right now. But they are spiritual causes that I talk about in the book, and help people to overcome.
It sounds like the lack of like soul fulfillment could potentially lead to depression. So like doing the stuff, like you said, the soul mission, but the things that resonate with your soul to bring it out, like with your friend with the music, but then that lack of fulfillment for your life could lead to depression. Well, obviously some other stuff as well. I'm just sharing my own journey of depression. And then for me, I was holding on to things in a toxic type of way, like bitterness and resentment and all these things from previous experiences, and not doing the healing work of forgiveness and letting it go. So I was holding on to it and bringing it on into every experience. And it was like, oh, I want to be happy, but I'm holding on to this stuff right here. I want to be happy, but I'm not going to let this stuff go. I want to be happy and still hold on to this stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but you obviously had to say it. That's the other thing, is holding on to the negatives. And if you're doing what your soul wants you to do, that's a way that you obtain what I call joy, because joy is different than happiness to me. Happiness is a fleeting thing, but joy is something deep in your soul. And even if you're having a bad day, or if you have a mishap of some sort, you still know you're doing the right thing, and you feel that in your soul.
Someone say hashtag soul goal.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Who said that?
But if you get into flow and you know what that feels like, nothing beats it. If you're doing what you feel you should be doing.
Right. And so, I mean, that's such like a loaded statement, because also understanding that there is this, this ability to be in a place called flow, then it's like there is the awareness, or it could be created that there is an awareness of not being in that place. But it's like, what
Yeah.
is the reality?
Well, I mean, it's something that I really encourage people to do, because I've physically done it a lot in my life, and that is to spend a good amount of your life trying to discover who you are. Self-discovery is probably the most important thing that we can do in our life, because that's the way we can find what our true purpose is, what makes us happy, what helps us to sustain. And I've done a lot of different spiritual journeys and self-discovery journeys, which I don't regret any of them.
Yeah. What are some of the extreme things that you've done for yourself?
Well, have you heard of the Mankind Project?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe not everyone.
That's one extreme thing. If somebody's done it, they know how extreme it is.
You have a ring?
Excuse me?
Do you have a ring?
No, I didn't. I was living overseas, and so I wasn't able to stay and participate.
Got it.
But I spent 10 days doing the Hoffman process, which is another very intense self-learning process. I go every year into the Swiss Alps for a week. For the last 25 years, it's been a week with a spiritual group there.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Shawn versus nature. Or
well, I mean, nature is so healing. There's so much positive energy in nature, and if you can access it, I definitely recommend doing it.
Yeah. We've got a question for you.
That one up there.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you read it, Del?
Sure. Hey, friends. Juju. I'm finally able to join. Miss you both. Miss you too. My question is, in this self-discovery journey and navigating emotions between joy and sadness, how can one better identify the difference between a depressed soul and a grieving soul, or the stuck feeling that stops one from doing their purpose?
It's a very good question. I'd love to go on a journey of discovery with you to help you come to an answer with it, because one of my spiritual teachers, went through this with a number of her patients, and finding out what you're grieving about, can help you to overcome that feeling of depression. But finding out if it's grief or misalignment with your soul, that'll take a little bit of time to figure out. But I'm happy to help do that. And I don't charge for any of my work. I just like to help people who are, having difficulties.
Wow. There's another comment here, which is, I know all about that. I was initially diagnosed an alcoholic, then manic depressive, then depression, then OCD, and finally with ADHD. I lived with that for a long time with medicines. I have gradually gotten off a lot of the meds because of a lot of soul searching through being actively aware of what I do and what makes me happy. Exercise and having good vibrations and creating positive life forces with very positive people have made that really happen.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. That's what my book is about. It's about the being torn between modern medicine, which is going to pump you full of drugs, and spiritual healing, and what she described as far as bringing positive energy into your life in any way that you can, through nature, through animals, through plant-based medicine, through conscious eating, through using the strength of water. All these natural ways of bringing positive energy into your life can help you overcome those negative feelings, and then find purpose in your life. Today, too many people just reach for the quick fix. Right? When I was finishing this book, I had gone on a hike with my family, and as I was walking along, first my left foot started to hurt, and then my left knee started to hurt, and then my left elbow started to hurt, and I was just thinking, what the heck is going on here? And I realized I missed a chapter in my book talking about pain, and talking about how important pain is, because pain is your body telling you something, and we have to learn to listen to that pain, figure out what the body is trying to tell us. But too many people want to just cover the pain. They want to get rid of the pain and not listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a universal theme. Think about not even just like that physical pain, but emotional pain of trying to cover up as soon as possible, or not go there, or do the stuff to distract yourself from feeling that pain, doing the stuff to avoid feeling the pain that you might have felt before in life. It's like a conditioning. So it feels like it's like a correlation to ignoring the body pain. Here, take this pain relaxer or whatever it may be, to not feel it. I'm curious for you, because you wrote a book on this and you talk about this chapter on pain. What does physical pain tell a person, and how can a person be able to find out exactly what their body is telling them on that spiritual nature with the pain?
Well, it's a cry from your body. Have either of you done the Hoffman process?
No.
Hoffman, he created a very good model for a human. I mean, people today talk about mind, body, and soul, but that's insufficient, because Hoffman says we have an intellect, which is here, and we have an emotional self, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is in your gut. Right? Our brain is here and here. It's not just here. But we also have our inner child. We have our shadows that we live with and we carry. And then we have our true self. which is our deep spiritual self, and then our body. And so we have all these voices we can listen to. We can listen to our emotional self. A lot of people don't want to. They ignore their emotional self. And the emotional self will start sending some pain our way, right? As you said, it will say, listen to me, you've got some emotional issues that you've got to deal with. The body will also do that. I mean, it'll tell you you're overstressing your knee. You've got to take care of your knee. But you have to figure out where the pain is coming from. Is it an emotional pain, as you suggested? Is it a physical pain? Is it intellectual pain? And that, some people know what that is. It's an intellectual conflict that you can't get over. It's giving you a migraine, giving you a headache. So that all those pains are there, and I can't tell you what any one of them means, but all I can say is listen to it and try and figure out where it's coming from.
And by listening, do you mean like a meditative state, being an observer, having a conversation?
Yeah. Just giving your body space to speak to you, or giving your emotional self space to speak to you. What's getting me down? Maybe it's my relationship with my, the estranged father. Maybe that's what's getting me down. Just try to think about what that part of your body is trying to tell you.
Yeah, that is so profound. Being able to create a relationship with all of the parts of you so that you can have that dialogue with ease.
And that was one of the learnings I got out of Hoffman. Just the model is one thing, but actually trying to allow in your life space for your whole self to be who they should be, and not suppressing your emotions or suppressing your body or ignoring your body, and getting stuck in your head. A lot of people just get stuck in their head. That's not a good place to be.
You see what happens in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone asked, is the element of pain in your book Torn Between Two Worlds?
It's in my last book, Torn Between Two Worlds of Modern Medicine and Spiritual Healing.
I wanted to ask a question right there. Because I definitely want to talk about the spiritual and modern medicine and torn between two worlds. So for this book that you made, I would love to hear the essence of this, torn between two worlds. And I'm sure our audience will love to hear it as well, between modern medicine and the spiritual nature.
Well, I told you that I started writing these 3 books, and I started writing essentially chapters. And when about halfway through, I realized what I'm talking about is conflict. It's torn between two conflicting areas. But in the end, in each of the books, the science and religion, rhetoric and wisdom, material and ethereal, it's a conflict, but actually they both exist. And I try to help people figure out how they can, and not in conflict, right? People can have religion and you can have science, and they can exist together. They should be able to exist together. They did in their inception exist together, with modern medicine and spiritual healing, I went to a cardiologist with my wife, and they were going to do a mitral prolapse valve replacement or rebuilding of it. And the doctor said there's a 97% success rate with this operation, which is open heart surgery, essentially. And I just said, show me one modern medicine treatment for mental health that comes close to 97% success, right? We're very good at repairing physical damage in the human body. I mean, the success rates are very, very high, right? But the success rate in treating schizophrenia, depression, DID, you can go on, is very low. As your listener was saying there, I mean, giving medications and none of them worked. Success rate's very low. And so, it's a matter of knowing when you want to go down the modern medicine route, or when you should stop going down the modern medicine route and start looking at spiritual treatments.
Yeah.
And, because neither one of them has all the answers. Just put it that way.
That is true. And that balance with it, before, like, early on in my spiritual path, I thought, okay, this is the way of doing it. This is the only way of doing it. And it was the same thing in the religious standpoint. Like, this is the only way. Like, everything else is not the right way. And that balance, like you said, the flow with it, because modern medicine has its good, modern medicine has some stuff that's not so good. Even on the spiritual side of things, there's great stuff about spirituality, and there are not so great stuff about spirituality, but the intertwine in between them is very beneficial. It reminds me of, I don't, if you know her, I'm sure our audience knows this spiritual teacher, Gabrielle Bernstein.
I've heard of her. I don't know her that well.
But she was saying how she was in postpartum depression after the birth of her child, like really deep into it. Like, it was very, very like dark stages that she was in. And she was trying to do like the whole spiritual stuff with dealing with this, and it wasn't working for her. And then finally she surrendered, because at first she was thinking about, like, no, I'm not gonna do any modern medicine, stuff like that. And she actually made a decision to do the modern medicine to the point to get her into a balanced state, to actually start to use the spiritual stuff. And then she was able to switch over to spiritual stuff, and it alleviated her off the medication. But she was saying, like, how before she was like dismissing it altogether, the modern medicine. But when she actually used it, it helped her to get to that next stage to allow her to do the deepest healing work that she needed to do, to no longer need the medication as well.
Yep.
So that's like I feel like that's like an example of the balance with it as well. With it.
Yeah, certainly. Every treatment that I recommend to people can be used in conjunction with anything. There's no danger of them interacting at all, because one is a treatment at a spiritual level, and the other is chemical or whatever. And so, yeah, throw it all at it.
Oh yeah.
Not. I mean, but if it's working for you, then you can supplement what you're doing with other treatments. And as I've said in my book, even if you're not spiritually ill, everything that I recommend in my book you can do. I mean, it'll just make things better for you, because this is our goal. You see the little man in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's our goal, right? And we can all get closer to that goal during our lives, become brighter and brighter and brighter.
We have another question here, or a comment. It says, is it true that many people, when they say they feel rage and anger, it's not that at all, because they haven't developed the rainbow of various feelings that we ordinarily go through?
You're correct as far as the range of emotional intelligence that children are taught doesn't allow them to figure out that this is actually fear that is making me enraged, or this is shame that's making me enraged, because anger is the default, and you have to go to the source of the anger. Is it because you're shamed that you're angry, right? Is it that you're jealous that you're angry? Are you embarrassed that you're angry? And we don't teach children, I don't think, well enough to understand exactly what emotion they're feeling, because it ends up defaulting to anger or rage. There's a whole rainbow of emotions that can lead to rage.
Yeah. It's very interesting how you say it about, feeling shame about rage or shame about anger. I just kind of continue to compound until some type of breakthrough or release.
Well, it's not shame about anger. It's I feel shame, and I'm mad about feeling shame. Right? And that's why I'm mad. It's because anger can be for many reasons, but it's the shame that you're embarrassed about, and we don't help young people work through those emotions very well, I don't think.
Yeah. And then those people who don't work through that at a young age become adults still as that kid, not working through it and can't express themselves or have that fear of expressing themselves, or maybe like nobody gets me. Been told before, like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, when really it's like a bigger deal to somebody. So then they, oh, I'm not that big of a deal, or not enough. The internalization of stuff. That's what I was trying to get to.
No, I understand that, and I think one of the big problems I see parents make and other people make is to tell people how that other people should feel. Especially, you shouldn't be sad. I am sad. You can't. No matter what you say to me will not change the fact that I'm sad. And we need to not only put a name to the emotion, but respect other people's emotions. I can try to make you happy, but I may not be successful in doing that. But I can't tell somebody, don't be sad.
Yeah.
It's a fact. You can't change it.
Yeah. I feel that, like, if someone isn't feeling their own emotions, then if they see somebody feeling their emotions, it may be like a potential trigger to them. So it's not that, stop it. Like, it's not that big a deal, because they're suppressing their stuff. So they're trying to teach, suppress your stuff. No, it's not. Or maybe they got taught that when they were young as well, potentially. Like, yeah, you're not supposed to be sad, or I'll give you something to cry about. Stop crying. Or whatever it may be.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that parents can pass on through generations because that's the way they learned it when they grew up. And trying to break that cycle of abuse is an important thing for us, and an enlightened age is to help parents understand to, think about their children as adults, because a baby comes into this world with a fully developed soul. It doesn't come into this world with a baby soul. The only problem a baby has is communication. And I've read some work from a baby psychologist who's done some fascinating things with babies who have been in traumatic experiences and overcome them. And she just speaks like a normal person to that baby, and can help the baby recognize what's going on in their life, why they're afraid, why they're pulling their hair out or whatever they're doing, because there's a fully conscious soul inside of them, and they can understand it. It's just they can't communicate. They can cry, they can chew on something, that's how they communicate. So I suggest to parents to really listen to your children, like I said, listening to your body, listen to your children, try to figure out what they're trying to communicate to you. It'll be a while before they speak to you, but they're always communicating.
Yeah. You remind me of a meme that I saw online when it said, it was just a baby with a mean face. They said, the moment when you're a baby and you're crying because your back itches, and they give you a bottle.
Yeah. But that's the best thing we can do to change our world, is to raise children in a more enlightened environment. Help them to become who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Not tell them not to be who they are.
Yeah. And do you feel that starts with actually that parent finding out who they're supposed to be, so that way they can set the example?
It is. I mean, that was my personal experience. I was given a daughter who was completely the opposite of me, and I didn't understand who she was. But I listened, and I learned a lot, probably more from her than she learned from me.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that. I have a son who's 10, and I had an epiphany recently, like a couple months ago, about parenting with him. And I realized that my parenting style has to be infinite with him, universal, because every moment he's changing. So the way I was parenting him at a certain age that fit for him, it may not fit for him now. So like you're saying, like being present, and it's like learning on the fly, but it's an experience. It's a pretty cool experience.
It is. The enlightened kindergarten teachers just love their job because they learn something new every day. They have these young new souls, and they teach them every day.
Yeah.
And that's what we need in those teachers, is curiosity, and that's what we need as parents, is curiosity. Yeah, I'm sorry to add all the pain to this person. Yes, I understand that. It's hard to figure out where this pain is coming from.
Got it.
Because I'll speak directly to that from a personal experience. I can tell you to the frame in a movie when I will cry. It doesn't matter how many times I watch it, I will cry at that exact point. And it took me many, many years to figure out what this story was. Well, the thing that ties them together is it's at the point where a person becomes recognized who was not recognized before. And when that happens, there's television shows, there's movies, no matter how many times I watch it, I cry like crazy, because that's the pain that I carry from my childhood. Because I was a child, I was the youngest of 5 that was not recognized for who I was. And that's a pain that it took me 50 years to figure out what that pain was. But it's an interesting journey of discovery. You learn something new every day.
Yeah. I'm curious if you don't mind sharing that pain of not being recognized. How were you able to actually discover that for yourself, that was the root pain that you had to be with?
Well, this was actually when my daughter was 5. She went with my wife to visit my mother, and after they left, I called my mother up and I said, "How was the visit?" And my mom said, "Oh, she's such a lovely, caring girl. You know, it's amazing." She said, "You used to be like that when you were her age." And then she said, "What happened?" And that's when the 10 tons dropped on my head, and realized that in my childhood, I had lost what I saw in my daughter. This, extremely loving, caring, generous person. That's who I was when I was her age. And it got beat out of me.
And when you were able to recognize that, how are you able to reintegrate it to the point of where you're at now? Like, what was like, once you brought the awareness to it, how are you able to reconcile that and to bring it in the space that you're in now?
That pain's still there. I don't think it's going away very quickly. I've forgiven the people who are responsible for it. I reconciled with them, but the pain is still there. And it's an important pain, because that's what has driven me to help these people who are being mistreated by modern medicine, who aren't being understood. One of the women who encouraged me to write my last book, I spoke to her when she was 42, and she said to me, "This is the first time that anybody has listened to me and understood me." She's 42 years old. And she said when she was in grade school, the teacher told the rest of the class, "Don't play with Barry Ann. She's a witch." Marianne was a clairvoyant, right? And her family members didn't recognize that gift. Obviously, the teacher didn't recognize that gift as a gift. But she grew up with this spiritual gift, and nobody around her could help her with it. And it wasn't until she met me at 42 that she started to get the courage to use her gift for good. But without that pain that I have, I wouldn't be so encouraged to help these type of people, because I really can understand.
I love the fact that you are being with the pain, and also while you're with this pain, you're providing a greater good service to the world as well. And this is an amazing teaching tool for a lot of us who may have some pain that they're dealing with right now. I'm sure whoever's watching this live, there's probably some type of pain that you're dealing with in your life from previous experiences. And this right here shows bravery and courage, and using your pain as a catalyst to help others. It's amazing.
It's the best thing you can do with it. I know a number of people who have done it because in order to overcome their pain, the best way to do it is to help others. That's how we heal ourselves.
Yeah.
Helping others.
Yeah.
And not focusing on that pain, not going down the spiral.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the cool thing of acknowledging, because you're acknowledging that part of yourself that feels that. And it's not like in a way like, I know it's here and then I'm trying to get rid of you. So, okay, I'm here with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's even more powerful.
Yes, it is. And that's, like I said, that's what Hoffman does, is helping you to recognize the darkness that's within you. And it's you don't hide it away. It's there. It's part of you. And you shouldn't be ashamed of it, because we all have it somewhere.
Yeah.
Juju says maybe we shouldn't have kids until we know who we really are, so we can put a stop to all these generational traumas we are so easily passing down. Just saying, in a perfect world.
I agree with what the sentiment is behind that.
Yeah.
Because everybody, I know a lot of people have gone through this Hoffman process, and the premise of the Hoffman process is that that our parents aren't to blame, because it was their parents that taught them, and it was their parents that taught them, and it's this generational thing. And everybody I know who's gone through the Hoffman process has said, why don't they teach this in school? I mean, it's such a basic principle. And what it's called is the negative love syndrome. A baby can't survive without love. It's a physiological fact. So if a baby is receiving attention, the baby has to interpret that attention as love. And so in the first 5 years, in the developmental years, if the child is always receiving negative attention, their brain is being programmed that is love to me. And so those children, when they grow up, they seek a partner who gives them that love, and the process goes on. Okay. So yes, we need to teach people before they become parents about this physiological process that goes on, that we either repeat what our parents did or we reject what our parents did. And sometimes neither of those are good. Maybe you should do something different. Right?
Yeah.
But yes, that I agree with the sentiment. It is we can pass a lot of things on from generation to generation.
Yeah. The thing for me on this comment, because mostly everyone's here who joins our community, who's in here, they're doing the inner work. They're doing their healing work, and they're going through the process of learning about like the thing we're talking about, the conditioning, the programs, and making more of a choice to start to integrate new ways of being and new habits of doing it. And personally, for me, what I feel like is like we're always going to be learning, but if you are committed to doing that work, we don't have to wait until everything is done to like have kids, because like when will the work ever be done while we're here? It's like there's always something we're learning and stuff, but then obviously in relationships, like with my partner, but also with the child, it's like going to help you to heal as a catalyst. But doing your work, getting support with it, and the child will be able there to help you as well with it. And you see a lot of times too what parents do, and I did for a little bit, and then I like the more I did my work, I became aware of it. Was I was like, I'm going to give my son everything I didn't have, type of thing. So like my ego was, I'm going to prove this stuff, and it's not what he wants. It might be what he wants, might not be, but giving him this love, unconditional, infinite love, but also give myself the grace for the programs that I was living out, forgive myself, accept that. It allowed me to be in an even deeper space to like see what we're talking about of the generation pass on to generation, pass on to generation, and things like that. But even through that, a lot of times our parents, and that I found out from just having conversations, like my parents were way worse than I went through. And through all that, they still loved me the way that they could love me the best that they can, and they gave me the lessons for me to integrate as well. But then it's like it reminds me of the Jesus quote, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," and a product of our conditioning, like all of us.
Yep. I think if you're on this path of self-discovery, it should help you to also be curious about your children, and I think that's the most important thing that you can do. You don't need to know everything.
Yeah.
But if you're curious and you're, and if you're looking for the divine in your children, you can encourage them to, be the best that they can be, just like you're encouraging yourself to be the best that you can be.
Yeah. And it's already the top of the hour. Shawn, is there anything, maybe there's someone that's coming on to this podcast right now that didn't catch the rest of the episode. Is there something that you would like to leave with them so that they can understand some of what you were saying today?
Sum the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Good luck.
No, what I did in my life was I studied many different philosophies and different teachers, and found a number of successful ones that really helped me understand the world better. And that's what my books are about, is that bringing together the lifetime works of these wonderful wonderful people who lived before us, and leveraging that knowledge for us today. I mean, you know, you've heard of Byron Katie, for example, right? She spent her whole life figuring out how to be happy. But we don't need to do that. She's already done it. So let's build on that, right? Let's build on her teaching.
Yeah.
Brian Weiss, he's spent his whole life looking at past lives and so forth. Let's build on that knowledge that he's brought us. So use that as a starting point. Let's not repeat history. That's the beauty that we have today. We have access to all these wonderful life works that so many people have done. And if you can bring them all together, you can really have a wonderful knowledge of what life is like and why we're here. You know, we're here to become better. We're here to improve, and it's not necessarily that we're here to become perfect. We're here to make steps forward, not to make steps backward. Right?
Yeah. The beauty of the internet, because now we have the universe at the palm of our hands with all this information. It's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And this is how we connected, through the power of the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. Halfway around the world.
Yeah. And where can people find you, Shawn?
They can find me on Quora. They can find me on my website, tornbetweentwoworlds.com. I'm on Twitter, Instagram. I'm kind of all over the place.
Is that 2 spelled out or the number 2?
No, it's all spelled out.
Okay. Got it. We'll put that in the chat for everyone.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
And the books are on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible. They're all Audible books.
Do you have Morgan Freeman narrating it?
No, not Morgan Freeman. Barry Snyder, my business partner.
Could have did it, right? Hi, I'm Morgan Freeman. And this is Torn Between the Two Worlds.
Thank you, Shawn, for sharing your magic with us.
Thank you for having me, Kai
Yeah.
and Dell. It's wonderful speaking with you, and you just have such wonderful energy and beautiful smiles. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, and likewise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone who joined us, who's watching live, who's listening to the recording. We appreciate you, and this conversation is what it is because of you.
Yeah.
So I look forward to tuning in with you next week, and
Stay magical.
You've been listening to our Daily Magic Podcast with Kai and Dell. Please like, subscribe, and tune in next week for another magical episode. Visit www.ourdailymagic.com for more. Thank you for listening and have a magical day.